طيب، فاليوم نقرأ من أبي ذر القلموني حفظه الله تعالى. So today from the book by Shaik Abu Dhar Al-Qalamoonee, أحكام الصيام والقيام وزكاة الفطر, things of fasting, prayer, and giving the zakat al-fitr. وكتاب نفيس جدا ذو فائدة عظيمة، فنسأل الله تعالى أن يرفع شأن الشيخ وأن يغفر له وأن يحافظ عليه. So this book here is a tremendous book by Shaik Abu Dhar Al-Qalamoonee. May Allah forgive him and guide him and preserve him and protect him from all harms and all evil. فيتكلم عن أحكام الصيام وأحكام القيام وفضل ذلك. So this book here is going to discuss some of the benefits of fasting, the rulings of fasting, and the likes, and the benefits of standing up at night, and some virtues connected to both of them. فرأيناه ماذا ذا. This book to be a tremendous reminder يا إخوان. قال بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله واشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. قال الله تعالى, he says, Allah the Mighty, the Majestic, he mentions, يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم أياما معدودات فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام فمن تطوع خيرا فهو خير له وأن تصوموا خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. So the Imam, he begins that comes in Surah Al-Baqarah, where Allah Ta'ala says, O you who believe, fasting has been prescribed upon you just as it was prescribed upon those that came before you. A certain amount of days for you to fast, and whoever from amongst you is on or is sick or on a journey, then let them make those days up, meaning at a later date. وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين, and whoever from amongst you cannot do that, cannot fast, then let him feed. فمن تطوع خيرا فهو خير له, and whoever does a voluntary action, then it is better for him. وأن تصوموا خير لكم, and if you were to fast, it is better for you. إن كنتم تعلمون, if you own. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصوم ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون. And Allah Ta'ala, he continues as he says, the month of Ramadan, that which the Quran was sent down therein as a guidance for mankind, وَبَيِّنَاتٍ مِنَ الْهُدَى, and a clarification of mankind and a criterion. So whoever from amongst you witnesses the month, فَلْيَصُمْهُ, then let him fast it, meaning the month. And whoever from amongst you is ill or sick, traveling, then let him make those days up at a later date. يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر. Allah intends for you good and He does not intend for you difficulty. وَلِتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةَ, the time period, and glorify Allah على ما هداكم, for that which He has guided you to, وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ, so that perhaps you will be grateful. Surah Al-Baqarah. قال والمقصود بالصيام, as for the intent and the goal of fasting, or the intent of it, what's the meaning of fasting? قال الإمساك عن المفطرات, من طلوع الفجر إلى غروب الشمس مع النية. So the Imam, he says, the maqsood of fasting, the intent of fasting, what is it? It is to refrain from everything that will break and validate one's fast. فعندما المسلم يصوم جميع المفطرات. So when the Muslim is fasting, what is he refraining from? He is refraining from everything that invalidates or invalidates his fast. متى يبدأ? When does he begin this fast? من طلوع الفجر, from the arising of the dawn, the fajr. ومتى ينتهي? When does he stop his fast? إلى غروب الشمس, when the sun sets. مع نيتي, along with the intention. فبين الإمام هنا بهذا التعريف أنه لا بد من النية. So the Imam here is clarifying that fasting, you need an intention. لماذا? Why is that? لأن الصيام عبادة وهو من أجل عبادات, because fasting is worship. From the best of the worship. It's from the best of worship. إذا العبد يريد أن يتقرب إلى الله عليه بالإكثار من الصيام. So if the person wants to come closer to Allah, it's upon him what? To increase themselves in fasting. فإن يزيد العبد في الصيام خارج رمضان. So the person increase his fast outside of Ramadan. ويقول النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام إنما الأعمال بالنيات من حديث عمر عند البخاري ومسلم. And the Messenger of Allah, he mentions all actions are based upon intentions from the hadith of Umar collected by Bukhari and Muslim. وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال رسول الله عليه الصلاة والسلام من صام رمضان إيمانا واحتسابا غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. الحديث متفق عليه. And Abu Hurairah, he mentions, may Allah be pleased with him, that the Messenger عليه الصلاة والسلام, he said, whoever fasts Ramadan, شهر Ramadan, meaning the month of Ramadan, إيمانا, out of belief, واحتسابا, and hoping and seeking with the reward, or seeking the reward from Allah, غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه, all of his sins will be forgiven. All of his sins, for his past sins, will be forgiven. هذا الحديث صحيح. This hadith is authentic. وعند البخاري ومسلم, and is collected by Bukhari and Muslim. فبين النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام أنه يوجد شرطان اثنان يغفر له ذنوبه أو ذنوبه. So the Messenger of Allah here mentions there are two conditions for the sins to be forgiven بالنسبة إلى الصيام, with regards to fasting. فإذا العبد يصوم مثلا في رمضان وهو لا يستغفر الله تعالى لكنه يصوم من فضل الصيام ومن فضل رحمة الله تعالى عليه غفر الله له من ذنوبه أو غفر الله له ذنوبه مما تقدم. So if the Muslim is fasting in Ramadan and he does not ask Allah for forgiveness, but he just fasts, fasting alone is enough for his sins to be forgiven, the fast of Ramadan. From the power and the might of fast and the mercy of Allah Ta'ala, He has made the virtues of fasting that a person can fast without asking Allah for forgiveness, and his fast will Allah will expiate his sins because he has fasted. لكن ذكر النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام هنا شرطين اثنين. However, the Messenger of Allah in this hadith, hadith Abi Hurairah, he mentions two conditions. فهذا لا يحصل لجميع من يصوم. لا. So this does not take place for everyone that fasts. No. Rather, this is from the one who fasts. يتوفى ماذا أو يوفى هذين شرطين. But he fulfills these two conditions. قال النبي من صام رمضان إيمانا. So the Messenger of Allah said, whoever fasts Ramadan, belief. هو يعلم ويؤمن أن الصيام واجب عليه. So he knows and he believes that the fast is incumbent upon him. It's obligatory upon him. It's obligatory upon him. فإذا يصوم بدون إيمان لا يدخل في أجر هذا الحديث. So if he's just fasting without believing in it, he's just fasting because the people are fasting. مثلا, for example, he is not inside of the reward mentioned in this hadith. من صام رمضان إيمانا. Whoever fasts Ramadan out of belief. واحتسابا. وهذا الشرط الثاني. And the second condition is in this action. إيمانا واحتسابا. He's fasting out of belief and ihtisab. He's seeking the reward of Allah by such. ثم ذكر النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام الفضل والأجر وهو أن يغفر الله له ذنوبه. Then the Messenger of Allah mentions the reward. If you fulfill that, what happens? The reward, the bounty, that Allah forgives that person's sins. نسأل الله تعالى أن يجعلنا وإياكم منهم. And we ask Allah that it makes us and you from amongst them. قال الشيخ أبو ذر القلموني ومعنى احتسابا. So he says the meaning of ihtisab, seeking the reward of Allah. He says أي طالبا وجه الله وثوابه. He says the person is seeking the face of Allah, the reward of Allah, the face of Allah and the reward. أي هو for Allah يطلب من الله تعالى وجهه ويطلب من الله تعالى أجرا ثوابا. Meaning he's seeking, he's requesting with this fast the face of Allah, the reward of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanahu wa قال بما يثبت شهر. So he says, by what means is the month established with? What makes the month or begins the month of fast? كيف يعلم المسلم أن شهر رمضان قد بدأ. How does the Muslim know that the month of Ramadan has begun, has began? قال يثبت شهر رمضان برؤية الهلال ولو من واحد عدل. He says, so the month is established, the month of fasting, by the witnessing of the crescent, the month. He says, even if it's only witnessed by one just person, هذا يكفي, that's sufficient. أو إكمال عدة شعبان 30 يوما, or no one sees Sha'ban was completed with 30 يوما, 30 days. فبهذين اثنين يثبت شهر رمضان. So by these two things the month is established. برؤية الهلال أو بإكمال الشعبان 30 يوما. So someone that's knowledgeable, experienced, trustworthy witnesses the crescent. بدأ الشهر, the month begins. أو لا يرى أحد من المسلمين الهلال فيكمل المسلمون شعبان ب30 يوما. So no one sees the crescent. What happens? Now you give Sha'ban 30 days. And Ramadan, the next day is the first of Ramadan. Our sister says, Aliyah, she says, the sighting of the hilal, that's one of them. And the second, ikmal, that you give Sha'ban 30 days. You complete Sha'ban by giving it 30 days. قال الإمام أبو ذر اختلاف المطالع. Next issue. When the sighting of the moon takes place differently in different places. قال ذهب الجمهور العلماء إلى أنه لا عبرة باختلاف المطالع. So the majority of the scholars they say, it doesn't matter that one country seen the sighting and another person seen the sighting. The majority of the ulama they say if one person sees the moon, yakfi, it's sufficient. Strong argument, ya ikhwan. كذلك في حج. Likewise in Hajj. لماذا لا نقول في أيام الحج اختلاف المطالع؟ لا. نبدأ عندما جهة يرون الهلال، نرى أن أيام الحج قد بدأت. طيب أين اختلاف المطالع؟ لا نبالي به. فلماذا نبالي به في رمضان؟ No one says, oh, we got to go with the local sighting. Why don't we do that in the times of Hajj? If we do it in Ramadan, طيب, let's do it Hajj time. When the Muslims in the Khalij, in Saudi and the likes, in that area there, when they see the moon, everyone in the Ummah says, Hajj, Hajj, Hajj. So what happened to ikhtilaf al-matali'? What happened to the local sighting? So why do we do it in Ramadan? فالجمهور يرون إذا واحد من المسلمين عالم مختبر عادل يرى الهلال يجب على جميع المسلمين أن يصوموا. على جميع المسلمين أن يصوموا. So the majority of the scholars, their point of view is that if one knowledgeable, experienced, reliable crescent, then all of the Muslims in the world, they begin their fast. قال فمتى رأى الهلال أهل بلد وجب الصوم على جميع البلاد. So the majority of the scholars, their point of view, not all the scholars, no, the majority, this is their point of view, that if a person from a particular land, any land, he sees the moon, fasting becomes obligatory upon all of the other countries. لقول رسول الله عليه الصلاة والسلام, based upon the statement of the Messenger عليه الصلاة والسلام, صوموا لرؤيته وأفطروا لرؤيته متفق عليه. As the Prophet said, fast when it, and break your fast لرؤيته, when it is seen, meaning the crescent. فقال النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام صوموا متى لرؤية الهلال. طيب فيصوم جميع المسلمين. So the Messenger of Allah said, fast when it's seen. So so all the Muslims they fast. هذا القول الأول. That's the first point of view. That's the first position. قال والرأي الثاني, second opinion, second position, أنه يعتبر لأهل كل بلد رؤيتهم ولا يلزم رؤية غيرهم وهذا هو المشاهد ويتفق مع الواقع. Is that the consideration is given to every land that they have to see the moon or the crescent themselves. You go with the local sighting. This is the second opinion. First opinion, all of the Muslims they fast. يجب على جميع المسلمين أن يصوموا. It's obligatory upon all of the Muslims to fast. Second opinion, you go with the local. This region fasts when they see it. That region fasts when they see it. ولا يلزم رؤية غيرهم, and it's not binding that since this region seen it, another region has to fast. وهذا هو المشاهد, and this is what is witnessed now, where most of the people, or a lot of the people, they go with the local sighting. فإذا بعض المسلمين يميلون إلى هذا لا بأس, والآخرون يميلون إلى هذا لا بأس. So if some of the Muslims go with this opinion, no problem. If others from the Muslims go with this opinion, no problem. أعطيكم ثالثا, I give you a third position. على حسب الأكثرية, it depends upon the majority. مثلا نحن في أمريكا, us, the Muslims in America. إذا أكثر المساجد تميل إلى اختلاف المطالع, فالأولى والأفضلية أن نبدأ باختلاف المطالع. إذا نرى الهلال في أمريكا نبدأ في رؤية الهلال, ولكن العكس بالعكس. For example, in America, let's take all the masajid in America. If most of the masajid, they lean towards the local sighting, and this is the akthariya, the majority of the Muslims in America, if they're going to go with the local sighting, then we should do the local sighting, so we can be unified. Likewise, the opposite for the opposite. إذا أكثر المسلمين في أمريكا, أكثر المساجد في أمريكا تميل ويميلون إلى رؤية واحدة لجميع العالم, فنبدأ مع جميع المسلمين في أمريكا مثلا. So if all the Muslims in America, we live in America, if all the masajid, or most of the Muslims in America, or most of the Muslims, the masajid in America, take the point of view that we're not going to do the local sighting. If anyone in the world sees it, we're going to fast with them, then let's fast with them. هذا أولى من يكون مثلا الاختلاف في المساجد, الاختلاف في كل مدينة, الاختلاف في كل بلد. لا, نمشي مع الأكثرية. هذا الأولى والله أعلم. So this will be better than having so much division in some of our masajid. Sometimes we're in the same masjid, half the brothers are doing the local, half the brothers are doing the global. Half portion is doing that. Let's go with the majority. If you take all the Muslims in America, all the masajid, and most of them are doing the global, let's do the global, the universal, so we can be together. If most of the Muslims in America are doing the local, then we should do the local. But to have 5 masajid in the city and 4 are doing the local and 1 is doing the universal, no. Or 4 is doing the universal and then 1 is doing the local, no. Let's be as unified as we can. If the most of us are going to do the universal, let's do the universal. If most of us are doing the local, let's do the local. Wallahu alam, and Allah Ta'ala knows best. لكن كل واحد منهما جائز. But both positions are allowed. Both positions are allowed. قال حكم من رأى الهلال وحده. And next point, the ruling on the person who sees the hilal himself. A person by themselves, they witness the hilal by themselves. قال فيه تفصيل ذكره شيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية رحمه الله تعالى. So this issue has some detail. And this detail was explained by many of the ulama. From them Ibn Taymiyyah, from them Ibn Qayyim رحمهم الله. قال ابن تيمية رحمه الله والراجح أنه يصوم مع الناس ويفطر مع الناس. The strongest position is that this person, he sees the crescent himself, that he fasts with the people and he breaks his fast with the people. وهذا الأظهر الأقوال أظهر الأقوال, and this is the most apparent from the positions. لقول النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام, based upon the statement of the Messenger عليه الصلاة والسلام, صومكم يوم أو يوم تصومون وفطركم يوم تفطرون. As the Messenger of Allah, he says, your fast is on the day that you fast, and you break your fast on the day that you break. People, they begin their fast a certain day, that's when their fast begins. If the people, they break their fast on a certain day, that's when the people break their fast. أخرجه الترمذي وهذا حديث صحيح. This hadith is collected by Tirmidhi and it's an authentic hadith. قال ابن تيمية رحمه الله, Ibn Taymiyyah goes on to mention, قال لكن من كان في مكان ليس فيه غيره إذا رآه صام فإنه ليس هناك غيره. He says, however, if someone lives in a land and he's the only one in that land, a sister is by herself, a brother is by themselves, and they're the only Muslims in that land, they're the only ones who sees the crescent, then it's upon them to fast. قال السؤال, question, ما حكم من صام يوم الشك? What's the ruling on the person who fasts a day that he's doubtful? Is it Ramadan or not? He is doubtful if it's Ramadan or not. What's the ruling on that fast? طيب الآن يبين الإمام هنا مسألة فقهية. So here the author is clarifying the issue of al-fiqh. العبد لا يعلم هل بدأ رمضان أم لا. فيه شك هل يصوم أو لا يصوم في اليوم الذي له شك. So the man, he doesn't know if Ramadan began or not. He's doubtful of the beginning, or he's doubtful if it's Ramadan or not. But he fasts anyway. He's not fasting because he thinks it's Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum. He's fasting out of doubt. He's doubtful that is Ramadan. ما حكم هذا الصيام? What's the ruling on this? قال يوم الشك كما في تحفة الأحوذي المراد منه اليوم الذي يشك فيه. He says, what is the meaning of a day of doubt? He says, an explanation of a Tirmidhi, it says the day that the person is doubtful with regards to, is it a day he should fast or not? وهو يوم 30 من شعبان. And it's the day, for example, the 30th of Sha'ban. إذا لم يرى الهلال أو لم يرى الهلال. And the crescent was not witnessed. في ليلته, in that night. بغم, because of the clouds, or the atmosphere wasn't that clear that night. أو نحوه فيجوز كونه من رمضان وكونه من شعبان. So now, since no one's seen the crescent that day, now, because if it was cloudy or not, that person can have some doubt. So it could be Ramadan, or it could still be Sha'ban. وعن عمار رضي الله عنه قال من صام اليوم الذي يشك فيه فقد عصى أبا القاسم. So Abu Ammar, he used to say, whoever fasts on a day of doubt, then he disobeyed the Messenger of Allah عليه الصلاة والسلام. فهذا الحديث يبين لنا إذا العبد يشك مثلا هل هو رمضان أو لا يزال شعبان وهو يصوم في ذلك اليوم الذي يشك فيه فمن هذا الحديث حديث عمار هو عصا النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام. So if the person fasts on a day of doubt, according to this hadith, he's disobeyed the Messenger عليه الصلاة والسلام. الإسلام يا إخوان يبنى على اليقين. وهذه القاعدة, Islam is built upon certainty. إذا العبد يتوضأ مثلا وهو يشك هل كسر وضوءه هل يجب عليه الوضوء أم لا. The man makes wudu and then he's doubtful if he broke it or not. He know he made it, but he's doubtful if he broke it or not. Does he have to make wudu? The answer is no. Al-Islam was built upon certainty. إذا لا يتيقن أنه كسر وضوءه فهو لا يزال في الوضوء. So if the man is sure he made wudu, but he's doubtful he broke his wudu, he's still in wudu. Islam is built upon certainty. قال هذا الحديث صحيح كما في صحيح أبي داود. This hadith is authentic as it comes in authentic classification of the Sunan of Abu Dawud. قال وأن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال. طيب we'll skip that one يا إخوان. طيب أن النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام قال لا تقدموا صوم رمضان بيوم ولا يومين إلا أن يكون صوم يصومه رجل فليصوم ذلك اليوم. رواه الجماعة. So Abu Hurairah, he mentions that the Messenger عليه الصلاة والسلام, he said, do not precede Ramadan by fasting a day or 2 days before it. Don't do that. Unless this the fast these days. A person naturally fasts a certain days. So these days come, he still can fast. But if someone is just saying, okay, Ramadan is about to start, I'm deliberately going to fast a day before it, or I'm deliberately going to fast 2 days before it, the Messenger of Allah said, do not do so. قال الرأي الأول وهو صحيح. طيب, so the first opinion regarding the one who fasts on the day of doubt. يرى أكثر العلماء أنه إن صامه أي يوم الشك وكان من شهر رمضان أن يقضي يوما مكانه فإن صامه لموافقة عادة له كأن وافق يوم الاثنين أو الخميس جاز له الصيام حينئذ بدون كراهة. So the first opinion is that the person fasts on the day of doubt. He says most of the scholars, they say, if the person is doubtful and he fasts on this day, he says, and the day is the month of Ramadan, يقضي يوما مكانا, so he fasts a day in that place. فإن صام لموافقة عاداته, but if he's fasting not because he thought it was Ramadan, but it was a day that he naturally fasts, for instance, if that day is on a Monday or a Thursday, and he out to make that fast, and there's no hatred for what he did. قال والثاني, the second opinion عند الحنيفية, and the position of the Hanafi madhab, إن ظهر أنه من رمضان وصامه أجزأه عنه. They have the position that if the person fasts out of doubt and it becomes apparent that it's Ramadan and he fasts that day, then he's rewarded therein and there's nothing upon him. قال أركان الصوم, the pillars of fasting. قال للصيام ركنان, fasting has two pillars. Fasting has two pillars. الأول الإمساك عن المفطرات من طلوع الفجر إلى غروب الشمس, is that the person refrains from everything that breaks one's fast from the dawn into the setting of the sun. النية, that a person has the intention. فبين هنا أن من أركان الصيام أولا الإمساك وثاني النية. So the author clarifies here that fasting has two pillars. The first pillar, the second pillar, or that you fast from the dawn to the setting of the sun. And the second pillar, you have to have the intention. فإذا العبد مثلا يصوم وما بدأ من طلوع الفجر فلعله لم يصوم ثم وصل إلى الظهر فيقول أنه يصوم فهذا الصوم ليس من السنة. So the person, for example, he starts his fast after Dhuhr, and then at Dhuhr he says, I'm going to fast. that fast is not the fast of the Sunnah of the Messenger عليه الصلاة والسلام. نعم. أو العبد يصوم ولكن بدون نية. هو يصوم عادة يصوم كما أو لأن الناس يصومون. هذا الصوم ليس بالصحيح. Or the person is fasting, but he's not fasting with the intention of fasting. He's just fasting because the people are fasting. So he's fasting because they are fasting, but he doesn't have the intention to do so. Then this one also does not have the reward of fast. ولا بد أن تكون أي نية قبل الفجر. And the intention regarding the fast has to be in the person's heart before the fajr. من كل ليلة من ليالي شهر رمضان لقول النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام من لم يجمع الصيام قبل الفجر فلا صيام له. So we'll say what the Shaik says first, and then we'll break that down inshallah. He should be there every night before the fajr of the next day and the nights of Ramadan. Because the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, he says, whoever fasts, the person does not have the intention before. There's no fast for him. أخرجه أبو داود, collected by Abu Dawud. فالعلماء يختلفون إلى قولين. So there are two opinions from the people of knowledge. هل يشترط على المسلم أن ينوي كل يوم أو يكفي نية أو بداية الشهر. So there are two opinions. Some scholars have the opinion that every day of Ramadan you have to have a new intention. And the second opinion is that no, you can have one intention for the whole month. So for those that say you have to have a new intention every day, because and then you fast, and then you broke your fast. So since you broke your fast, you have to have a new intention every day. هذا القول الأول. This is the first opinion. والقول الثاني الصيام مواصلة أي صيام الشهر رمضان فلذلك يكفي نية واحدة والله أعلم. And the second opinion, other scholars, they say no, you don't have to have a new intention every day, but rather one intention for the whole month is sufficient. Wallahu alam. It appears this is the strongest opinion, and Allah knows best. How much time you got, ya ikhwan? Almost time? كم الوقت?
Can you say again?
How much time you have before iftar?
I don't know.
Sheikh Saif, كم الوقت؟ كم بقي من الوقت؟
الآن باقي 5 دقائق.
5. شكرا. لكن هل تشترط النية قبل الفجر لصيام التطوع? Next point. Regarding the fast outside of Ramadan, the voluntary fast, is it a condition? Voluntary fast has to be before the Fajr, like Ramadan. قال كثير من الفقهاء. He says many of the scholars of al-fiqh, they say إن النية صيام التطوع تجزئ من النهار إن لم يكن قد طعم. So he says most of the scholars of al-fiqh, they say the intention of the voluntary fast can be in the morning if the person does not eat. فالفرق بين الصيام في رمضان والصيام خارج رمضان. وعليكم السلام يا شيخ. So there's a difference between the fast in Ramadan and the fast outside of Ramadan. الصيام في رمضان لا يجوز للعبد أن يستيقظ مثلا في الصباح وما عنده طعام ثم ينام. لابد من النية أن تكون قبل الفجر في رمضان. The fast of Ramadan is different. You have to have the intention before the Fajr. The nighttime is there, you have to have in your heart, I intend to fast tomorrow for Ramadan. So you can't wake up and then check your fridge and say, oh, it's no food, I'm going to fast anyway. It's Ramadan anyway. Not like that. For Ramadan, the intention has to be before the Fajr. Outside of Ramadan, the intention can be before the Fajr or after the Fajr. قال على من يجب الصوم. Who is obligatory upon them to fast? هل يجب على جميع المسلمين? Every Muslim has to fast? What do you say? What's your opinion?
Every Muslim.
Every Muslim? What do you think, Shaik? Every Muslim has to fast? Or some Muslims?
A condition.
Hey, there are conditions. It depends. قال أجمع العلماء على أنه يجب الصيام على المسلم العاقل البالغ الصحيح المقيم. So the scholars of Al-Islam, they say it's obligatory to fast if you fill these conditions. If these conditions are met, you have to fast. Number one, you have to be Muslim. Number two, al-aqil. You have to have your right mind. You can't be insane. You can't be on a medication that your mind is not there. You have to be sane. You have to have your mind. Al-baligh, number three, you have to reach the age of puberty. Number four, al-sahih. You have to be healthy enough to fast. You can't have a sickness that prohibits you, that stops you from fasting. إذا لعبت له مرض يمنعه من الصيام لا يجب عليه الصيام لكن يطعم مسكينا. So if the Muslim has a sickness, and this sickness is such a sickness that stops the person from fasting, then it's not on him to fast. What they do is that they feed someone, since they can't fast, they fast. And the last condition, al-muqim, that the person has to be a resident. إذا العبد يكون مسافرا لا يجب عليه الصيام إذا يريد أن يفطر فليفطر إذا يريد أن يصوم فليصوم. If the person is traveling, we go to New York from Jersey or from South Jersey, and the man wants to break his fast because he's traveling, he can do so. There's a group of Muslims traveling, half the Muslims break their fast, no problem. The ones that are fasting should not criticize the other ones. Oh, you're weak, you're this. They shouldn't do that. That's allowed. You can't criticize something, that's allowed. For the sahih, that the person is healthy, هذا يخرج على الحيض. This removes the woman that's on her menses. If she's on her menses, she does not have to fast. She calculates those days she was on her menses and she makes those days up. If a woman is on her menses, she does not feed someone either. Feeding is only for the one that is, there's a sickness or reason. There's a temporary reason stopping you, and you calculate those days you didn't fast, and then you make them up after Ramadan. قال ويجب أن تكون المرأة طاهرة من الحيض والنفاس. And he says it's obligatory for the woman that she is not on her menses and she is not on her postpartum bleeding. طيب, so we'll stop there يا إخوان. وسبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت استغفرك وأتوب إليك وجزاكم الله خيرا. أفطروا, break your fast. أكرمكم الله.